So this will be a fun one to talk about because I've been asked a whole bunch over this second playthrough, what's my favorite class? Like, do I prefer the mage to the rogue? And yes, but also it just kind of depends. Like, there's some differences in gameplay that I think um, I appreciate both. I've not had a chance yet to play the warrior. At some point down the road, I probably will because I love the concept of like the Captain America character chucking his shield into things. Because I have a paladin, a protection paladin in World of Warcraft that I absolutely adore because of the shield throw. I just think it's a super fun ability to just like chuck your shield into a group of mobs and watch it go bing, 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 and then come back to you. But specifically as of right now, as of this recording, I think that the mage takes the cake for me, despite the fact that the rogue was a lot of fun. If you watched my rogue playthrough, which was the first playthrough in the game, I went with the duelist subclass, which was really cool because it was all about the blades. I didn't want to do the grenadier or saboteur or whatever it was called because I didn't like the idea of having like the gun thing. Although the grenades kind of appealed to me, and I didn't want to do ranger, even though I've done ranger in past iterations. I really wanted to go back to my Dragon Age roots when I did Dragon Age Origins, which was a human dual wielding thief. Um, and that's probably the one thing that I do miss from this game is the ability to do like the lock picks and traps and all that other stuff. But it's all good. I did like the rogue a lot, but the rogue is also really heavy on the button mashing because you're doing a lot of like ducking and rolling and getting out of the way and parrying and everything else. And everything's very up close and personal with the duelist. And I did enjoy that gameplay, especially the lightning flask. I think the lightning flask was one of the coolest things in there, as opposed to this, where this because I'm choosing to play as a staff mage. It's completely different because I'm doing everything from a distance, and I kind of prefer this playstyle. This is a really interesting conversation to have too because I talked about this when I was doing the Moon Druid in Baldur's Gate 3 because for a long, long time, the Rogue has always been my preferred character to go through a game for the first time, and I really love the idea of picking locks and sneaking around, disarming traps, and everything else. But and when Baldur's Gate 3 early access dropped, I started off as a human rogue, but then by the time launch rolled around, I had switched over to a Moon Druid. And when I was looking at what I wanted to play for this game, excuse me, I originally was like, I would love to do a druid, but there wasn't really a druid build. So I was like, well, I'll just go back to my, rogue roots and play through as a rogue. And I did get a lot of fun out of the rogue character. Um, but after getting some time with the mage, I'm having a lot of fun with this character. Now, worth noting is again, I'm focused on the staff mage. I do not do. This is the spellblade. I'm not worried about the spellblade. The reason I'm not choosing to do the spellblade character is because um, it is phenomenally beautiful, but I just played a dagger-based character with the duelist, so it just didn't feel right to turn around and do it again. So I've been focusing on this guy, and honestly, like I love to charge this up. I've been having a lot of fun with this, and I specifically have focused on ice. And if you look at this, I probably actually need to do a build guide for my rogue as well, because I know some people have asked for that. But this character I've gone through, and I'm essentially I'm going for the evoker, but I'm maxing out the what is it called here? The control line, which is all ice spells, and the Shadow Dragon line, which is controlling the battlefield. And the active abilities that I've chosen to go through with my character are Ice Blast, Entropic Sphere, Dark Squall, and then Vortex of Shadow. And more importantly, over here in the skills tree, I have a couple of things that I really appreciate. One is the Shattering Control, which no, hang on, that's not the right one. Breathing Room increases my area ability effects by 50%, and then somewhere over here. This one, Greater Authority. Ice Blast doesn't cost me any mana, although it does have a 40-second cooldown, and all of my control abilities have a 20-second upgrade. So essentially, all of my mage spells at the moment. So this doesn't cost me any mana. So I can do an absolutely free Ice Blast. It just has a longer cooldown. And then these spells have a 20%, well, in terms of control abilities. But this in particular, there's no mana cost associated with it. So I can blast this out, and it gives me more mana to use for these two. And then I have other skills where I'm getting mana back on successful kills, and I'm also getting mana back on being hit. So it allows me to fill up my mana bar pretty quickly and recharge my abilities fairly quickly, which allows me to consistently use abilities. And then because I'm focused on the ice and having a bigger area effect for things, and pulling things in from the Atrophic Sphere, excuse me. Quick commercial break, everyone, to celebrate and give thanks to all of these amazing people who keep me on the air full time. Really appreciate the support. All you got to do is join as a member. You get access to private videos. You can also do super thanks on any upload, or super chats and stickers on any live stream or premiere you see. And beyond that, don't forget we're multi-streaming over on Twitch now, so you can support over there as well. Thanks so much to everybody. Let's get back to the video at hand. It really focuses on the crowd control component. So I haven't been worried about using tank abilities too much. I've been primarily focused on having Tash in my party right now, Tash and Nev. Long term, I'm going to be having Tash and Lucanus. But I understand a lot more about how the companions work this time around. So that was something I didn't quite understand with my first playthrough. It was probably 50 hours in before I really got the hang of combat. And I have a better idea of combat in this playthrough, and I've just appreciated much more this particular character, because being able to come in here and just lay down this Ice Blast right away, boom, and then following that up with this, which pulls everybody in as it moves its way down and then does the explosion at the end. Wait for it. There we go. And then, of course, this one, which blasts everybody right away. And then the big ultimate, which just sits there and pulsates and pulls everybody into the inside. And if you time this right, we can do that on top of the Atrophic Sphere, where you're continuing to pull everything in towards the inside. These combination abilities make for an absolutely phenomenal experience. And because you're doing it all from distance as a mage, I'm having much more fun. I also very much appreciate this right here, because the shield is based on your mana pool. So if I'm playing the rogue, the rogue is more about like ducking in and out, and you can still do that here. By the way, I love that shift. You could still do lots of duck and tumble in the sense of like getting out of the way, but I love the fact that I can sit here and instead of needing to parry and have perfect timing, I can just sit here and hold the shield and just be like, whatever. And as long as I've got mana, I can just sit here and hold this shield and take whatever they throw at me, assuming it's not like a red unblockable ability. So I just think that for me, the mage feels better than the rogue. Even though like Lightning Flask was super cool on the rogue, able to drop that down and then do all the burst damage and everything else. This feels better. And I know that there's different ways to play the mage, whether it's Fire Mage, Electric Mage, but I just love the ice and Tropic Spheres and everything else. So for me, as of right now, I'm getting a lot of fun out of the mage. I definitely think I prefer this to the rogue. So, yep. Second playthrough happening every single morning at 8 a.m. Central on YouTube and Twitch. So hopefully we'll see you in the next one. Stay tuned. Until next time, happy gaming, everybody.